You may think of knitting and crochet as something your grandmother does, but in Darwin, a new generation of women are reclaiming these skills for themselves. Alison Middleton reports.
Pull it through to...
True, yeah. Craft's just, you know, you're making your own little treasure.
It's serious work, this knitting. You can't do two things at one time.
Craft's a bit sexy now.
Knitting's become cool again. It used to be something that only your grandma did.
My mum's a pretty staunch feminist, and she's, I think, quite shocked that I'm at all interested in crafting, because for her it's like the epitome of domesticity.
It's a steamy weekend in tropical Darwin. There isn't a woolen jumper in sight.
And then just make like you're doing a stitch.
But yarn is the must-have item.
Amazing!
We've been learning crochet today. Yeah, it's been really great. Everyone's done really well.
So you got your chain of 3, you wrapped?
NERIDA Grant is teaching the others how to work a crochet hook. It's a hobby she picked up while travelling.
I really love making things though, like presents and blankets and beanies and things for friends and family. It's quite meditative, I think. Like once you get into it, you just sort of, your brain switches off and it's a very calming thing to do. And at the end of it, you have these really beautiful, amazing, you know, products.
Lots of people just like me who kind of work in sort of areas like health and education, and a lot of the things that we work on are really complex and the outcomes are really abstract and they take a really long time. And a lot of people are really interested in working on crafty projects where you get outcomes quite quickly.
Yo Bell set up the Lazy Crafternoon group 2.5 years ago. Having arrived in the tropics from Sydney, she found she had more time on her hands.
I'd always wanted to start a crafting collective because handmade things are cool.
Crocheting is just one of the skills this group has learned. They get together once a month for a craft fix. They've tried their hand at mosaicing, weaving, sewing and lino printing.
For other girls here, a lot of them have learnt from their, mums or aunts. We've had a few nanas who've been visiting Darwin, who've been sort of special guests and run workshops, bit of, intergenerational knowledge sharing.
It's about connecting, I think, yeah. And that's what craft's always been about, I think.
But this is not craft as you know it. These women are taking old skills and giving them a modern touch. It's what they call indie crafting.
For example, Nana craft might be, crocheting kind of old school doilies or tea cozies. And indie crafting might be using the skills of crochet to do something, that's a little bit kind of more avant-garde. For example, one of the things that's really big down south is guerrilla knitting and yarn bombing, where people use crochet and knitting skills to beautify ugly public spaces. So you might see, your local phone booth covered in knitting.
Now crafters are taking their handiwork to a wider Darwin audience. In a city known for its markets, this is the new kid on the block. The friends started up the Happy Yes markets a year ago.
It was kind of stupid, really, to set up a market in a town full of markets, but we thought it was kind of different enough from the other markets and cater more towards locals, and that was, sustainable enough to keep going throughout the year, despite all the other markets.
Our only requirements are that we encourage things that are handmade or secondhand. We want to sort of avoid the big sort of mass-produced things that you can find at the other markets in Darwin, just sort of create a smaller, different niche.
There's different stallholders each month, there's no regulars. There's one guy that has had a few stores where he did his own rogue barber stall, and he did 50-cent haircuts, which were pretty hilarious. And he also did a compliment stall once where he gave 50 cents compliments to people, so that was really cute.
I think it's their own personal love of whatever craft that they're making, and they just want to share it with everyone else. Not many of our stallholders are here on a money-making purpose.
It appears for this generation, craft has been redefined, no longer seen as a chore, but a pleasure.
My mum was pretty crafty, yeah. She used to make all of our clothes and knit and crochet and everything, but she never taught us how to do it, unfortunately. None of my sisters can sew, and I can kind of crochet, but not like my mum, yeah. So it's like skill that's missed a generation. But yeah, it's coming back. It's coming back.
Crafting is making a huge comeback. I think people are fed up with mass-produced goods, and there's a lot of meaning in something handmade, and there's a degree of uniqueness that you can't get from mass-produced commercial bought products, and I think people are really attracted to that.
Alison Middleton with that story.